Everyone has a story.
Pretty crazy evening. Hustle and see the fire that has fallen.
We all take a different path and face different hurdles. I'm your host, Sarah Strackhouse, and in this show, I get to interview inspiring women who are dedicated to making change.
The world is tough, so be tough.
Welcome to the Strackhouse. Our guest today is someone very special. You may recognize her from the first 2 seasons of Last Chance U on Netflix, but you probably remember her for her drive, her passion, and her successes when it comes to helping student athletes on the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Brittany Wagner.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're here. First, I want to jump right in and ask you a little bit about your background and how you got into being an academic counselor for these students, and especially at JUCO.
Yeah, well, I fell into it, honestly. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't like I knew at 7 that this is what I wanted to do. I actually went to school, got my undergrad, decided, okay, nope. That's not what I want to do. So I went and got my master's degree. And it was during my master's program that I got a graduate assistantship in the athletic academic office at Mississippi State. I had no idea what that office was. I just knew that it was an opportunity for my school to get paid for. And so I took it. And it was in that office, actually working with the football counselor at the time, who was another strong female. And watching her and working with her and just being mentored by her, that I realized that this was what I was kind of destined to do. It just clicked with me right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And then I had the lucky experience of being mentored by this very strong, successful female in this field, which I think was kind of key to my success. Was being able to shadow her and be around her and see her interaction with the guys. And so once I knew that was what I wanted to do, I kind of had some stops along the way. And then I got the call from the president of East Mississippi asking me if I wanted to come there to basically start their program. They didn't have anything going to help the athletes at East Mississippi with their academics. They actually weren't winning. It weren't a successful program. And they were trying to build that and figure all that out. And they had just hired Coach Stevens. And they knew that in order to kind of build this championship program, they had to add academics in the mix, because these players would have to graduate and be Division I eligible. So they lured me in to leaving the SEC. And I was working in the SEC at the time, to leaving the SEC and going to this junior college in the middle of nowhere.
Wow. So you started it, you kind of starting this from the ground up. There must have been a ton of hurdles, a ton of things you had to kind of learn on the job. And so many people followed along and were inspired by your story. Can you talk about maybe some of the hurdles that you hit and how you overcame them?
Well, early on, I had been at East Mississippi 6 years before Netflix came on board. So at the point that Netflix came in, I kind of had it. It was a well-oiled machine
had your rhythm.
At that point. I had my rhythm. I knew what I was doing. But in the beginning, I think one of the biggest challenges for me, and I've found that as I'm traveling the country these days in education, it's a huge challenge for everybody at every level, is money. And we didn't have it at the time. And I actually, in 8 years of working there as the athletic counselor, I never had a budget.
Wow.
So day 1, I had a budget of 0. And actually last day of year 8, after even Netflix had been there for 2 years, I still didn't have a budget.
Wow.
So I had to figure out a way to service these guys and make this work with basically Microsoft Word, Excel, a sheet of paper, and a pencil. Honestly, and I think the proof for me was that it's possible.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times in education, that's our excuse. Like, we don't have the resources, so we can't help the kids. And that's crap, because we can. And so that was really the thing I think I learned the most, is that I just had to figure it out. I had to be creative, and I had to figure out how to help these guys, because at the end of the day, they didn't care if we had resources or not. Their lives were on the line, and they were looking to me for help.
And I think part of what everyone has been able to see is your passion coming through in this, making sure even with no resources. And at the same time, I mean, you were at all the games, you went out there. Tell me about that work-life balance. I mean, being there for those kids at every step of the way and showing them love, a lot of them probably for the first time from an authority figure.
You know, I just felt like it's really important when you're trying to form a relationship, especially with at-risk youth who have had a lot of disappointment from adults in their life. Mm-hmm. It's important to be there for them in all aspects of their life. It's important to be there in my office when they get out of class and they're frustrated. It's also important to support them on the field. And so I knew that they needed to see me in a different environment. They needed to see me in blue jeans and relaxed on the sidelines cheering for my team. And I needed to see them in their environment and be able to cheer for them and see what makes them tick, and to wait after the game and see who has a support system and who doesn't, you know, who walks off the field and there's no one there to congratulate them. I needed to see that. And so I'm a single mom and I had a daughter at the time, and I had to get a babysitter every Thursday night. And, you know, so I could go to these games. And a lot of times if they were road games, I mean, we were getting in at 2 a.m. Wow. And then I was getting up and taking my daughter to school and being at work at 8 o'clock the next day. And so it was definitely taxing. And I don't know that there was a whole lot of work-life balance, actually. I think it was a lot of work. But it was important, and I think it was the key really to building a lot of those relationships with the guys.
Well, and I know, like I said, you know, you've inspired millions of people across the country, probably even the world. I know one of my best friends is a college counselor in an underfunded area in Chicago. She absolutely loves you. And one of the questions, as I was talking to her a little bit about talking to you, she was saying something, talking about advice for maybe other counselors who are in a similar situation or don't know their path or what they want to do. Are there any words of wisdom you can kind of give them, and or any words of encouragement even?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough. You know, there's counselors everywhere fighting, and we're, you know, they're underpaid, they're underappreciated. A lot of times I think in that job you feel like nothing you're doing is really mattering. You don't see the rewards of your work immediately a lot of times. So you can get really down and kind of get burned out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. My advice would be to not sweat the small stuff. You know, you can really beat yourself up or really get honed in on every single kid and every single success or every single failure. And it can start to just, you're trying to fight every single battle. And I think you have to step back from that and take a deep breath and start to realize, like, okay, what are the really important pieces of this puzzle? What are the battles that I really need to fight? And what can I back off? The biggest advice I think that I was ever given was every single decision you make, every single thing you do, every single day, ask yourself, is this benefiting these children? And if what you're doing or the decisions you're making or the things you're worried about or the things you're beating yourself up about are not benefiting those kids, let it go. Because a lot of times it's not the kids that are the problem, it's the adults. And so we get bogged down in what the adults are doing or saying, or the I call it nanang, and the nana in the locker room type stuff. Right. We get all bent out of shape over that when that has nothing to do with the children. And so, you know, I just think, ask yourself when you're getting stressed out about something, wait a minute, is this about the children, or am I letting the adults, you know, get to me? And just always stay focused on what's best for the kids you're working with.
That's some absolutely great advice. Definitely, I know a lot of counselors will appreciate that. A lot of teachers in general, you know, anyone dealing with those situations and athletes and everything. So thank you for that. I wanted to switch gears a little bit because I understand that you've recently created the 10,000 Pencils Foundation. I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that, what the plans are for the future. I know it's, I imagine it's already wildly successful.
Yeah, we've been, when I walked away from East Mississippi, I kind of decided to do this on my own, and I created 10,000 Pencils. So with 10,000 Pencils, I travel around all over the country, and I work with different schools, high schools, colleges, universities, on how to build better relationships with their students, how to better service their student population. And again, I don't think it takes money. I don't think it takes fancy software. I don't think it takes a fancy office and a fancy title. I think we can help young people with just ourselves, with our hearts and our brains. And so that's really my message, is it's just about building relationships, meeting people where they are, seeing people as human beings, not statistics. So I travel around the country and consult with schools. I also do a whole lot of motivational speaking, which I love, because I feel like when you're speaking, you have a captive audience, and it's usually a pretty large captive audience. And to me, it's a really effective, quick way to get my message out to a lot of people in a short amount of time. And that's the way that I feel like we affect change. The more people that we touch, the more people that we inspire, the more people that we reach. And my hope is that when people come here and we talk, that then they leave inspired, even if it's just one piece that's inspired them. They leave, they go back to wherever they're from, they start implementing that, whatever they were inspired by, and then that's how we create change. And if I can do that, and people go back, if I've inspired one person from every state in this country, then eventually, if we keep it up, eventually we're changing culture. And I honestly believe that that's what needs to happen. So I travel and speak all over the place. There's no audience too large or too small, because as long as one person's affected, then I'm good.
And building that chain reaction. Well, if people want to book you for speaking, or if they want to get in touch with you to ask more about how they can help out with 10,000 Pencils, what is the best way to get a hold of you, or the website?
Yeah, my website's BrittanyWagner.com, 2 T's, A-N-Y. So BrittanyWagner.com, and there's a form on there where you can book me for speaking. You can email me. The email is Brittany@BrittanyWagner.com. Obviously, you can follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram. It's Brittany_MS girl.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I have one last question for you. And this is sometimes it stumps people. So if you need to think about it for a second, no problem. But if I knew you better, what would I ask you?
Oh my gosh. If you knew me better, you would ask me what teams I'm most excited about watching play football this year.
All right, well, tell me about it. Who are you most excited for?
I am like a football junkie. Now I'm NFL, because I have so many players playing in the NFL. So
that's great.
I follow it. I watch every game. I love game day on Saturday mornings. I love the inspirational stories. So I am super excited about football season. I'm excited about the NFL, actually. So you're from Dallas. I wish Zeke would sign his freaking contract and let's go.
Right.
I'm a little mad at Dak for demanding 10 million more. I'm like, come on, dude. So, the Cowboys are a team of mine that I love. And then obviously
I love that
John Franklin plays for the Bears. Dakota Allen is with the Rams. So I have Zadarius Smith with the Packers that I will watch. I have a player with 49ers, DJ Jones. So I'll be watching a lot of NFL football.
You're going to be busy on NFL Ticket.
I know.
Awesome. Well, Brittany, is there anything else that you want to leave people with before we wrap up here?
No, I would just say, look, we all have the ability to make a difference in somebody's life, and you don't have to be on Netflix. You don't have to have some fancy title or have a lot of money or live in the right place. The truth be told, I'm just a girl from Mississippi, and I was busting my tail to make a difference in people's lives long before Netflix ever knew who I was. So I think we all have the ability to make a difference in our own way, no matter what we're doing. I think the key to that is just like looking at people as human beings, and every human being has a story and has an experience. And, a lot of times if someone doesn't look like us, think like us, have the same experience we have, then we dismiss all of their experiences. And that's not fair. Everybody has their own experiences coming into today. Right. And I think we have to really sit back and ponder that and accept that. And especially in today's world, like just seeing people as human beings is is of the utmost importance, I think, right now.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. I know I was extremely inspired by your story, so knew that if, hopefully this will help get the word out, build that chain reaction that you're talking about as well. And I can't wait to see more of you in the future and everything you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. All right. Well, that's all for now. We will see you back here soon. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to nominate an inspiring woman, email me at sarahstrackhouse@gmail.com. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.